we're going to talk about is how to create a successful Amazon private label seller business next year and then beyond. So as we do that, we're going to cover a lot of different topics. But as we do, I want to make sure everybody understands and knows you're in the right place. If maybe you've tried other ways to generate little income online and become a little frustrated like our friend there, maybe you'd like to learn how to have more of a tangible, a real business, not some of the online things that seem to go on in the internet world. It's kind of nice to have your own brand. I've had mine for a while, and it's a really nice feeling to be able to share with family or friends. And as I give this, it's 8 o'clock in the evening here where I live, so maybe some of you are just sitting down. You're tired of being in that rat race or that commute you just finished. So if you've gone through all those things, you're in the right place. I want to introduce myself for those who don't know me. My name is Mark Scott Adams, and I actually create and sell my own products on Amazon. A little bit of a background and history on who I am. I have been a merchant for 2.5 decades. In that time, I have sold a tremendous amount of physical products. I had everything from a chain of clothing stores where we sold sportswear, from T-shirts, sweatshirts, golf shirts, that type of thing. Screen printing business where we sold a lot of souvenir shirts through stores throughout the country. I actually even had a car bumper factory and even a winery, and I do have to say the winery was maybe more one of the fun businesses. I guess the fun part of that was being the head taste tester. But by the way, as you're doing a business, you probably ought to never turn a hobby into a business. But regardless, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and write on how to sell on Amazon, as well as now as I help other people get going. So in that, that's a little bit of who I am, a little bit in this, and I want to take you basically to this webinar and just talk about Amazon. I really want to do this in an informal way. When I'm talking to someone like this, I really just imagine that you're here in my office and that we're just talking. So let's see if we can have turn the sound off on my phone. Probably would be a good idea. Let's do that right quick. Now I think we're fine. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started, and let's just dive into this and go over a couple different things, because literally what I want to do is I want to maybe give you the opportunity to see what Amazon FBA is all about, see what type of things are involved in being an Amazon seller. Because after this, you ought to have the opportunity to really think this through and decide if this is for you or not. What I'm going to do is actually take you behind the scenes, and I will talk about my first product, what I did and how I got started. There are a lot of people who do a lot of different things within Amazon. However, I think it's easier to relate back and forth if I just talk about my first product and what I did and how I got going. We're going to show you how to find the right market, how to find your own product in here today. We're going to show you and go through some things on a checklist I've created that will help you get started and be able to identify where you go, what you do, etc. And then at the end of this, we're going to talk about some ways to get started getting into it, and then we're going to have a Q&A session where I'll sit here and answer as many questions as you want and hang around and to do that. So that's really a little bit about who this is for and what we're going to learn today. So let's just see if we can not stick a toe in. Let's just jump right into the pool. Let's talk about Amazon private label selling. If you're really thinking about Amazon, there's really 3 ways that you can be an Amazon seller. One of the ways that's very popular right now is what's called the arbitrage model. And arbitrage basically means buying one product in one market and selling or buying at a low price in one market, and then turn around and selling it in another market for a higher price. That's been going on since the beginning of times and all the trade routes that developed and way back. You see a lot of arbitrage done in financial markets, where maybe somebody will buy gold in one market and turn around and try and sell it in another market for a higher price. In this case, when it relates to Amazon selling, arbitrage really means that you go in and you find closeout items, say at a Walmart, a Target, wherever you might be, and then you turn around and you sell those items in Amazon, which is a higher price marketplace. This is a relatively easy business to start, and this is something that a lot of people do. And the reality of this is it is possible to make money doing it. There are people doing it. However, it's a rather time-consuming scenario. You're literally going in these stores, buying closeouts, and when you find something that will meet a high enough price to sell on Amazon, you drive to the other Walmart or the other Target, and you'll basically develop a route where you're being able to do this. And ultimately what you're doing is you're trading time for money. This is not something that you're building here to where when you set it on automatic, it can create an ongoing thriving business. When you stop working, the money stops. This is a scenario to where when you find something that's on closeout, when that item's gone, it's gone. So it is a way to make money, that's for sure, but it is an ongoing effort. The other scenario, which is called fulfillment by Amazon, which is what the FBA stands for, and then fulfillment by merchant. Fulfillment by merchant is maybe say you have a thriving e-commerce business, or you already have some of your own customer service or an e-commerce thing set up to where you use Amazon as a selling marketplace to where you list your products there, and when you get a sale on Amazon, you fulfill the order. You send it out. You do all the customer service. It's really just another online store for you. And that's, again, fulfillment by merchant. Both of these have their merits, but really what I want to talk about is really the fulfillment by Amazon, which is regarding being a private label seller. And that's where you create a product, you brand it with your own name, you send it to Amazon, Amazon sells it, they handle all the customer service, all the anything, the warehousing, the sales taxes, anything that goes on. And what's really kind of nice about this is I guess I had been a merchant for some time and can appreciate the benefits of this. But the beauty of this is that all you have to do is find a product, find one that works, put your brand on it, get it up and running, do a little bit of marketing, and then it's going to sell month after month after month after month. This is ultimately a business to where if you want to sell one item, you can. If you want to sell 10 items, you can, whatever it is that you want to do. So from somebody who used to work 7 days a week, and I used to have my clothing stores I mentioned earlier, they were in malls. So there was always something to worry about with a customer service issue, a staffing issue. You had fixtures to buy, you had leases, you had all types of issues that you had to worry with. Well, with this, once I found fulfillment by Amazon, I don't think I could have found anything any better. It allows you to focus on being a merchant as opposed to having to do all the other things. And what you'll find is from the fee standpoint, Amazon will take about a 15% selling commission for what you sell or for them selling your item for you. And then they'll also take roughly a 15 to 20% range to do all of that customer service work. And when people ask what are the Amazon fees, I typically would say about a third. And of course it could vary on some other factors, but you know, if your item is selling for $10 and they're taking a third, call that roughly $3.30, and then your item cost $1.50 in that scenario, maybe you're still making 50%. And the fun thing is you get paid whether you're watching TV, whether you're eating, no matter what you're doing. It is an automatic machine. It's funny, my wife and I will go out and eat dinner sometimes, and we'll look at our dashboard on my phone before we sit down and eat. And then when you finish eating, we'll look again and see if we've sold any items and see if we've got our dinner paid for or not. And more times than not, we have. So it's really kind of fun. It's an ongoing joke, a running thing in my house to where, okay, how many did you sell when you're watching the baseball game? How many did you sell when you're getting groceries? Whatever it happens to be, you're getting paid whether you're doing work or not. So the reality of it is a pretty good way to be a merchant in 2015 and beyond. You're taking advantage of the strength and marketplace of Amazon to do things far better than you ever could as an individual, where really your role in the FBA private labeling side of it is to go in and determine what market you want to be in, and then be able to find a product and have it private labeled. So, of course, nothing's easy, but once you get that done, it's a one-step process. You're working once and you get paid over and over and over again. Now, the next logical question on this sometimes is people will say, okay, well, what type of money is involved in this? How much can you make? And, well, you know, that answer is, of course, as different as there are people. You will run across people who make $50,000, $100,000 a month doing this, who have really scaled this up and ramped it up to be an incredible business for them. And those types of things are very possible and very probable, and I have met a handful of people who do that. What those people are not telling you is that they've got a budget of maybe $50,000 to go buy their first product inventory. Maybe they're willing to spend another $25,000 on marketing. Maybe they've got a Facebook page of 75,000 people and an email list of 100,000 people of existing customers that they can call on to start selling their product. Well, the reality of it is most people don't have that. We've heard these things and these stories to where we all really want to believe that that's possible, and it certainly is. But I don't want to be Debbie Downer here so much as I want to be Ralph the Realist, I guess, in this. I have a philosophy that's a little bit different. I want to talk about that a little bit more in a second. I believe as if in anything you've got a learning curve. I believe you start out small. For every product that can generate you $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month, there's maybe 1,000 that can generate $1,000 a month. And I think really ultimately what you're looking to do is to jump in, find a product that will work, go through the learning curve, get it up and running, and then be able to scale up at your own pace. I think that way you kind of are going a little bit slowly. you've got a much better chance of being successful because you're trying to pick a product that with minimum and nominal effort and investment, you can get started for and have a very, very good and reasonable chance of being successful. So that's really the quick skinny on what the difference between Amazon FBA and FBM and then an arbitrage is. So I hope that answers your questions and gives you a good overview of what that is. What I want to talk about for a second really is how I got started as an FBA seller. These are questions I get all the time, and most people tell me they're helpful. So let's just see if we can sit down and cover them. A lot of people say, okay, I got to go back and look and identify a market, do product research, do all those types of things, which is absolutely true. But they'll say, okay, it's really not that hard if you know what it is you're looking for. And I'm going to show you what to look for here in a second. But for me personally, by the time I kind of learned and got up and running what I wanted to do, by the time I did research and found my supplier and did everything else I needed, it took me less than 20 hours to get started. My first product, including shipping, was $400. A lot of people come into this and think that they've got to import truckloads of goods and spend tens and thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's not possible. The reality of this is that when you're getting your goods from overseas suppliers, you have to think in 2015 terms, not 1960s terms. I make a joke all the time that the world is flat, and it's flat because things can come in from all over the world, and shipping costs and tariffs and all of those things have very much declined. So for me, in my first particular product, the product itself, I think, was 80 cents, and then the shipping was roughly about 80 cents, and that was packaging and custom labeling and all the different things that go in there. So it was roughly everything total, soup to nuts, it was like $1.60, and I got 250 pieces, and I paid $400. Now, the beauty of this is that got to me in less than 1 week, I think, from a shipping standpoint. When I first started and had these stores I was talking about, it used to take a week to get things from the West Coast to the East Coast of the United States. So things have dropped dramatically, and I don't want you to have any barriers or any reservations about dealing with people overseas. They will all speak English, and they will be able to communicate with you. It's really, really pretty good. Anyway, I got a little bit sidetracked there, but from the time I went through my 20 hours, I got everything done, packaging, bought the inventory. By the time from when I ordered my first item and got it to Amazon, got it listed on Amazon, all that time took me less than 30 days. Actually, it was about 20, but I say less than a month because I can never remember what the exact day was. The first month, I went out and I got some reviews and did a little bit of marketing and made enough to cover all of that $400 in inventory. That's not in sales, that's in pure profit. The second month, I saw some growth to $700, and the third month, it was about $1,000. So for every month from that point on, it's peaked out at about $1,000. This was an item that I would say had some very moderate competition, but because I was able to do some things that I learned how to do and do them well, I had some very good first page rankings. Actually, I had top 3 rankings on multiple keywords. And I think now this item, I think I've got first page rankings on 7 or 8 keywords, and the main keyword, I'm on the first page as well. So that certainly is helping my sales because I set up everything and did everything the right way. And just so you know, I had no email list or a Facebook group or anything to start with. This was just starting out just like almost anybody else would. By month 3, I had created some more products and some different accounts, and now I have some much larger sales volumes. But still, everything from my first product went very, very smoothly. I think it can for you as well. Now, the beauty of this is what a lot of people don't realize when you're talking about this as a physical business. You now have a tangible asset when you're doing this that you can eventually sell one day. You can sell to a similar type of business. You can sell it to your kids. You can give it to your kids. You can keep it to pay for their college, to buy a second house, whatever it is that you want to do. But like any other physical business that generates an income, it has a tangible sellable value. So you could sell this for a whole lot more than what you have in your monthly income. So that's something I think a lot of people gloss over. But if you're thinking about this, you're just not building an income. You're literally building a business. When I think about this in general, when you're talking about the arbitrage model, you're being a farmer. You're planting, you're reharvesting, replanting, harvesting, replanting, harvesting. That's fine. That's really kind of what's traditional in our society, where you're trading time and effort for $4. Okay? With this, it's much like you're planting an orchard. You plant the orchard, and it bears fruit year after year after year after year. So this is something that I've been fortunate enough in my career to understand and appreciate what it's like to get up and running, to get started, and work hard. But yet now I'm at a stage where I know I want to plant that orchard. So I've got money coming in, whether I'm watching a baseball game or whether I'm eating or whatever it is that I'm doing. I might even have some of my sales after this webinar. So, I mean, it's kind of nice to get paid in whatever you're doing. But anyway, regardless, I've got everything set up now to where I spend a few minutes a day just going over checking reports, doing the management aspect of the business, making sure everything's fine. Ultimately, I spend 2 or 3 hours a month on my Amazon product business. And then the rest of the day I spend working with some of my other coaching students and then doing whatever else I want. So it's kind of a neat business in what we're doing. So I've been kind of talking there, and it's almost time for me to take a breath, because I do make the joke quite often that the rule in my house is lose your breath, lose your turn. But anybody out there, does this make sense to anybody? Is this something that sounds interesting? Is this something that is appealing to most people? Somebody put something in the question box, because I know some of you aren't paying attention right now. You should be. All right. Get a few yeses. Very interesting stuff, et cetera, et cetera. This is great. So forth and so on. I thought I turned that off. Okay. I see here, yes, is there still time to get a private label product for Q4? Maybe, but unlikely, in this. But if it's that 30-day period, you're up and running and ready to go. So let's hold off on the questions for a second. Just wanted to make sure everybody was still around and you could hear me off of that, because even though you're sitting here watching a screen, I'm sitting here staring at a screen, and I wish all of you were here in my office so we could just be talking, but it is hard to talk to a screen sometimes. That's for sure. It is funny. I watch athletes on TV now, and I used to make fun at when they sounded really silly, and now I sit and listen to things like this that I do, and you hear things that you say, and you're not quite as judgmental as you want you to be, because talking to a screen like this or talking to a microphone is a little bit harder than you realize. But anyway, back on topic. With that said, that kind of gives you an overview. That gives you kind of what the life is like. Maybe that gives you some income potential. What I think about when I think of products, instead of going for that $50,000 a month item, again, I would rather try and do a $1,000 a month item, get it up and running, because if you can learn that and you can master that, which is a process, and it's very doable, by the way, why not have 3 items and make $3,000 a month? Why not have 7 items and make $6,000, $9,000 a month? Why not have whatever it is that you want? You can scale this up, operate it on your own time, and be able to do it any way you want. But anyway, that's just kind of, I get excited when I think about that. But I think it's important to understand the philosophy that if you think you're going to go in and make $50,000 your first month on your first product with no experience and nominal budgets, it's always possible. But I would look you right in the face and tell you it's not probable. And I certainly don't want to suck the life out of anybody's dream. But I will tell you it is extremely realistic to be able to start out making $1,000 a month and beyond, and then get to 5, 10, whatever amount it is, that's 50 at that point, whatever it is where you want to go. I just don't want to mislead anybody and tell you, wham, bam, you're going to make $100,000 next month. I hate stuff like that. But anyway, regardless in this, that's the simple philosophy I have, and what I teach is go in, get your toe wet, get wet, build up, and then you can end up making whatever you want. Because I've yet to talk to anybody in my entire life who couldn't use an extra $5,000 a month for 2 hours work, or $10,000 a month for 3 or 4 hours worth of work. So, that's a lot more money, and when you get to that point, that's kind of life-changing money. Even if you want to continue doing your job and making $1,000 a month, maybe that's a mortgage payment or car payments, and who knows, whatever that is that you can contribute that to. Maybe that's the difference in you not worrying about money versus having anxiety over your bills. I mean, you can take this anywhere you want to go. But anyway, regardless, let's come back, and let's do here now, I want to go in and I want to just literally talk about, I want to show you some things online. So let me see what we get here. Okay, as we go in this, let's do, let's go in to take a look at my Amazon product checklist. And this is something that I created, something that ultimately will help you determine if a market is viable. Let's spend a little bit of time, let's go over this, and then we'll go take a look at an actual market and some actual products and an actual supplier. A couple of things you really want to be aware of. When you're going in looking for a market in Amazon, you want to make sure that the market is not dominated by a name brand player. It's almost impossible as an individual to compete on an economic scale for marketing, all those types of things. If you are, the reason you see a lot of kitchen items in this is because you see so many different items that are not dominated. For instance, if you think of blenders, you might hear in the United States anyway, maybe you think of Oster. I guess that's how it's pronounced, or lots of other different types of products. Probably tough to compete against them. But if you think of baking mats, do you really think of somebody coming to mind and being able to do that? You want to start out with a product that is really easy to crack into the market. From a sales price, somewhere $15 to $60. If you're below $15, it's certainly doable. My first product was $12.99, and my products are more expensive after that. But you're going to have to do the same work whether you're selling it for $15 or you're selling it for $52, whatever it is. So I would encourage you to consider doing it for a little bit more from a sales price. You want to make sure the sales rank of the item you're trying to private label and do something different is under 10,000. And you can see that as you scroll down. We'll take a look at some of that in a minute. But ultimately, as you're putting an item together and you're looking for one of these items, you're looking for something that's selling well that you can make and be a little bit different and ultimately put your logo on. That's all you want to do. Reviews are a tremendous part of what you're doing here. So you want to make sure that you have some space to be able to get in and that each of the top items doesn't have 4,000 reviews. Chances are you're not going to get that many reviews and you're going to be able to overtake them. So you want to make sure that the market has some room for you to enter. Even if you're not on the first 2 or 3 listings, let's say you're number 6 on page 1, there's still a lot of sales coming from page 6. So that's why I've got the 12 of the next 17, and really you got 20 listings on a page. So if you take the next 17, are there less than 100 reviews? Are there ways that you can crack into that market with, say, 10 reviews, 15, 20 reviews? You want to make sure there's multiple keywords. We're going to look at barbecue gloves here in a second, but I want to make sure that if you did barbecue gloves, do you have enough search terms where somebody would type in barbecue gloves and maybe oven mitts? You want to make sure people can find your products from multiple ways. Do you see competitors using pay-per-click ads? That means there's money being made in the category. Just to kind of skip down a little bit here, you want to make sure there's enough search volume so you're in a category that if you do everything well, that there will be sales. I was talking with somebody recently, wonderful product, packaging, they did everything the right way. They just went into a market that didn't have enough searches. So even though they were highly ranked, they weren't doing enough, or they weren't getting enough volume. You want to ultimately look and make sure that there is a knowledgeable seller somewhere on that first page and that they're doing business, because the reality of thinking that you've got to be there first, innovation is a little bit highly overrated. Let somebody else go in and crack the market, and you just come in and do something bigger, better, faster than what they're doing and market better, and you'll get your share of the pie. You could bundle things, all different types of things. One of the big ones here, I think, is try and make sure that your product is unlikely to break in shipping. I had somebody a while back now who wanted to do whiskey glasses, and I basically talked him out of it because I said you're going to get a lot broken in shipping, and even though it's not your fault, they're going to give you 1-star reviews because it broke in shipping. So if that's the case, you want to do something like, say, a chopping board that somebody knows how to intuitively use, and it's not going to break in shipping. All right. Ideally, you see a lot of people doing supplements and creams and lotions and things like that because you want somebody where it uses it, they can reorder it. And that's an incredibly nice thing to have if you can fit that in. And by the way, on all of these things, you're never going to have everything be 100%, but you just want to make sure some of the points add up, and I'll show you below as I scroll down. As we get down into a little bit more, is the product itself viable if you have vetted the market? Does it weigh less? Because the less that it weighs and the smaller it is in size, the less Amazon will charge you in their warehouse to stock and manage that item for you. Can you put your packaging on the item and make it look better? Can you make it look like a gift item so somebody will maybe buy one for themselves and then come back and buy something for a gift? And then, of course, from a pricing standpoint, can you get it at a low enough price to where it makes sense for you to sell in that market? That's obviously extremely important. And then your initial purchase. I kind of like no more than 500 units, and ideally less if you can. My first order was 250 pieces, as I mentioned earlier. So, again, depending on your budget, what it is, all of these things together, you still ought to be able to do this for less than $1,000 if you can get small enough units. So take all your points and add them up there. But by doing this should give you a little bit of an overview of what things are, and then ultimately if your market and your product are viable. What we're talking about right here, just from a free training standpoint, is really, really, really helpful. So I hope that you downloaded this. when you signed up, because this is exactly what this is, and I hope you get some use out of this. Let's go take a look now. Let's go through a market, and let's go through a product, and let's find a supplier. All right, here's one that I use from time to time when I'm talking about this, and this was because this past summer I was grilling out, and I burned my fingers, and I got irritated. I thought there's no reason I'll be able to do that. So I came and I typed this in. And I use this because this market is still a viable market. It has an incredible seller in it. It has a very weak seller in it who's still selling things. So I want to show you maybe how to do things pretty well, and then even with somebody not doing things well, what you can do and how you can come in and do better. Now, you'll notice the number one item here are these what's called number one silicone barbecue gloves. Now, as we scroll through the page, let's take a look at some of the reviews. They have 500 some reviews, 100, 400. Again, you're looking at some of the other ones. So did they have less than 100 reviews? 78, 21, 135, to with 89. You can read along with me, but 180, 36, 94, 203, 56. 82, any of these under 100 in a relatively short period of time, 58, 55, you could get on this page. And this is something that just people don't look at things sometimes in the right way, but is this a viable market? Absolutely, this is a viable market, because you may not get the number one item right here, but what happens if you're, I don't know, what happens if you're right here? Let's click this item and see. All right, again, scroll down, and when I said look at sales rank earlier, I had no idea what the sales rank is here. This item right here is selling, it is 555 in home improvement. They don't really even have it in the right category. Number 4 in lawn and patio, as you look here. This is selling an ungodly amount of items. Now, they got it at $10, and they got it priced too low, but even if they're making $5 off of this, and they're in that 500 range a day, I imagine that they're selling at least 50 a day and probably more. So let's just say they're making 200 a day. This item here, and again, I don't know what they're making a day, but here's this item that is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, number 8 on the listing. What do we say, 200? Yeah, they're making $6 grand a month off this product right here. Okay, let that resonate in your head. Now I want to show you something. Here, let's take a look at this first one up here. Let's look at their sales rank. Number 17. This person is selling well over 100 a day. Now let's look at their price. $26. And let's say they're making half of this. Let's say they're making 13. And I'll bet you they're making more than that. But let's just say they're making 13. And let's just say they're selling 100 a day. That's $1,300 a day, right? Times, what is that, 30? $39,000 a month. Okay? Now, let's go back, and here's something to examine. Okay, let's say, what is this that we can find that causes this particular product to do well? One, they've got a lot of keywords in here. And by the way, Amazon is making some changes and coming down on people and making them put really, other than just that these are silicone barbecue gloves, and they're going to make them take out the highest rated heat-resistant cooking stuff. So this is going to change here shortly. But anyway, one of the things that values in a ranking is your sales conversion, your number of sales. And sales conversion is how many people see it versus how many people buy it, of course. The amount of sales you have, and then your amount of reviews. And it has some other factors, but for our discussion this evening, let's just say that's what it is. One of the things that helps this particular item sell so well is look at the pictures. You get a nice zoom here. You get some different things. They tell you how to tell what size. It shows it what's called action shots, that you can touch hot things without getting burned. You can do ovens. You can do grills. You can use it for other things. These are really, really good pictures showing you exactly what you're thinking. Now, down here, they've got some pretty neat product descriptions. This is what's called your bullet points. They've got things there, and they've got some of the keywords here. And again, as you scroll down, they have things in your description, which is a little bit more appropriate as well. Now, again, remember, this one was selling, this is number 17th bestseller in this item. All right, now what I want to do is show you something else. Here's another one in this category. This one I think is, gosh, I can't remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one's number 5. Okay, so let's come back and look at this for a second. At number 5, let's compare and contrast here. Pictures. Okay, I know Mr. Barbecue, I've come to learn, I think it's a national company, so they probably get some business from different sources, but these pictures are horrible. All right, Mr. Barbecue insulated barbecue gloves. Wow, that's really exciting. Now, they're not getting you to telling you anything there. Very basic, very durable, very boring here. Your product description, where is it here? Insulated here, look at what we got there. Look at what we've got here. But yet they're selling 534 in patio and garden. So, again, I'm going to make a guess at 500 that are maybe selling 50 a day. Now, if they would change everything, they could raise the price, because I want to assure you, you don't want to come in and be the lowest price. Look at what's the highest price item. That's the number one selling item. All right. The reason they're down here at $9.28 versus $18, $19 is because they're just not thinking this through. They don't understand what they're doing. They're just throwing stuff out on Amazon just so they can try and sell it. But anyway, let's just say, for argument's sake, let's just say they're making $5 a glove, and we said 50 a day. What is it, 250? They're making $7,500 off of that item each month, roughly. Who knows what it is exactly, but an educated guess at $7,500. And look at how poorly they're doing everything. You could come in with some gloves like this, set it up like this, and you've got an opportunity here. You out and get some reviews, and you're in good shape. So, here's something. So when you're thinking about markets and products, and I don't have an item in this particular market or product, but this is something that, just because I burned myself, I was able to find something that could make, again, I can't remember what we said here, even if it's $5, $6, $7, $1,000 a month, whatever it is, that's not enough to change somebody's life. I'm kind of thinking it is. But with that said, you got to come in, look at these markets, look and see if you can get the reviews, see if you just have an intuitive feel if you can get into that. I mean, as you come back and use the checklist to do these things, about the only thing this doesn't have is that it doesn't lead to reorders or subscriptions. You buy this once, but that's okay. It's obviously durable. There's big enough keyword search. There's pay-per-click ads being used. There's multiple keywords. There's lots of them in there with less than 100 reviews. There's some of them in here with lots of reviews. Sales rank was not only under 10,000, under 1,000. The sales price hit. There was no national product in there. Very light and small items. So when you use that, that's a little bit of theory, maybe tied in with a little bit of application on being able to do that. So just out of a curiosity sense, does a light bulb come on for somebody? Is this kind of making sense for anybody? Let me know in the question box if you would. Does this make sense to anybody? All right, I do see a couple questions here, and I want to tell you just something that I make a joke about from time to time. So if that's the case, then just hold off your questions and we'll go over those. I do see one says here, don't think you can start for under $1,000. Well, I did, and I know lots of people who did. So, it's a matter of looking. So, that's where we go from there. All right, let's take a look, and let's now go into let's take a look and go into some suppliers. I'm going to show you how to go and find these. And since you don't have, or since somebody here has a reservation about pricing, I'll just kind of show you. There's a source here in China called Alibaba, and you probably have seen a lot of them in the news lately and different things they are basically the Amazon of China. And I wouldn't be surprised in another 10, 15 years that they don't eventually overtake Amazon, like maybe Amazon grew and overtook some of the e-commerce things here. But anyway, regardless, ultimately what it is, it's a supplier database of all kinds of suppliers. Supplier database, kind of self-evident there, I guess. But anyway, what I did is I went in and I typed in barbecue gloves for products. And, of course, it will list all kinds of different things. For instance, here are the same orange gloves that we just looked at where they're using the same exact pictures, all right? So in this case, they're telling you that the cost of the item in this case is $1.50 to $2.50 per item, but the minimum was 2,000 pieces, all right? As you scroll down here, you're going to find different minimum order quantities. As many suppliers as we think we have here in the U.S., there's, again, we need to remember China has 3 times the number of people, maybe 4 times the number of people of the United States. So there's a lot of suppliers doing a lot of different things. Again, you're going to see some very, very large, and you can see the same thing in the United States. As you scroll down, here's one where you can get the same type of glove, exactly same type of glove, and as you click on, I'll click on this in a second, but basically where you saw up here where they had their name printed one on here. This is basically what they did to have it private labeled. You can see that. I don't know if you can see it on your screen there, but you can see that little bitty area right in there. That's how they had that private label. The cost here is $1.65. They got 100 pieces. Okay, so if that's the case, obviously you can start for $165. Now, shipping off of that with 100 pieces, I don't know exactly what it would be, but I can't imagine it would be more than, maybe $150 for that quantity, maybe $200. I don't know. So out of that, you're still looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of, who knows, $250, $300 to get started on that particular item. As you go in there, now maybe what you'll find, again, I don't know if you can see that a little bit better now, that's where you would private label, and they keep it blank because these companies are designed for you to put your own logo on the item. You obviously can change packaging, you can change and do anything you want, and that price can continue to go up. But for anybody who thinks that you can't get started for under $1,000, well, okay, there's exact proof right there of how you can do it. So you can spend as much as you want or as little as you want. So that's kind of some things with some pliers right now. So this is just one simple search we did. You can certainly go, and I found this when I did this all in from the time I burned myself and the next day when I went and looked, and I found this over the summer, and it took maybe 15 minutes to find, and finding a product and marking 15 minutes, and then a supplier, and all this was in less than half an hour. So if I were to pursue this, of course, you'd contact your supplier and then make arrangements to have it private label, and then you would have it uploaded to Amazon, and you'd go from there. So a pretty simple process as you would go through and look at this. So with that said, again, I do see a couple questions coming in. If you would be so kind as to hold us to the end of the question and answer session, I will come back and we'll see if we can address those for you. All right. Let's come back now. And let's see if we can kind of go through and finish this up. Everything we've gone through here is a really quick overview in this first 40 minutes or so of what Amazon private label selling is, what some of the nuances are, what are some of the ways to get started, the costs, the experiences, and everything involved, maybe what some of your day-to-day life would be. We've talked about markets and products and suppliers. You right now have enough knowledge and more knowledge about Amazon selling than most people out there who are probably doing Amazon selling. The reality of this is I always get a few questions after the fact of people who think, well, it can't be that easy. And I will say nothing's easy, but the question is it doable? And if you decide that it's doable, then it's just a matter of a process. But I think getting a product private labeled and sent to you and uploaded to Amazon is a tangible process. The art, if you will, of doing this is identifying your market and product and then doing your marketing on the back end. So when you're marketing, it's a combination of maybe doing some promotions and getting some reviews and increasing that number of your sales velocity, that's called, which is your number of sales, your conversion, making sure you got all your pictures and everything right, your title and your descriptions and all that kind of stuff right, and then getting reviews. So as you go through that process, it's very, very doable. So in a nutshell, that's kind of the 40,000-foot view of what being an Amazon seller is, what some of the potential is, and so forth. So as you look at this, obviously you've got, the question is, where can you go? And I guess, with the proverbial fork in the road here, you can obviously do nothing, or you can decide to be an Amazon seller. And of course, as an adult, that decision's up to you. With what you had tonight, you can go out and get started. This has been pretty good free training, and I don't know anybody who goes into this amount of depth in a free training. But if you want to go into this and you want to get serious and you want to get going, well, I do have something that can help you, which is what I call my FBA Head Start training course. It's basically a course that will help you create and sell your own Amazon products, and it'll take you through and show you step by step everything you need to do to get started. And it will certainly go into much more detail than what we've done this evening. The first thing it does, it talks about how to find the right product to sell and how to deal with suppliers, and then how to do the packaging, to get everything labeled the way you want, and then ultimately how to get your products to you. Now, one of the things I didn't mention is that when you're getting your products to you, you really never have to touch the products. If you live somewhere outside of the United States, you can still order your product in China and have it go right to Amazon.com, which is Amazon United States. Or if you live in Europe, you can have it sent right to one of the Amazons in the UK or Australia or wherever that might be. Now, what I did on my first order is I had it come to me because I just wanted to check it and make sure everything was all right. I didn't order any samples because it was only $400. But at that point, then you can take and turn around and send it to Amazon. And because Amazon is such a huge shipper, when you use Amazon and their shipping rates, it's almost nothing. I mean, a huge box that I have that's 50 pounds is like $7 or $8, I think, that I send to Amazon. So it's worth it to me. It's worth it to me to be able to, hold on one second, excuse me, please. Boy, it's hard talking nonstop. I had to take a sip of water there. It's pretty easy to get it to Amazon and very cheaply or very inexpensive as well. But anyway, inside that, we talk about how to get this. You can actually have the product sent directly from your supplier to Amazon. So if I know one person who does this and they live 3 months in the year in one place and they move on. Last I heard, he was in the south of France. So I think he was going to the coast of Spain next. So, you know, you can do this however you want, or you can do your own job if you want. All right? We're going to talk about how to get things set up in Amazon. And this is something that sounds straightforward, but it's actually something that trips a lot of people up. We're going to walk you through step by step as you look over my shoulders. You set up an account, get your product listed, get it shipped to Amazon, and then how to set up your pictures, get those uploaded. We even talk about what makes good pictures. So in this, you can actually use your smartphone to take your first set of pictures. You can use a professional photographer. You can use whatever it is that you want to use. And then we talk about how to get traffic to your page by setting everything up in the keywords, much like we did on the orange barbecue glove type of scenario. The third thing we do, which I think is extremely important, which is the exact Amazon system that I use to market my products once I get them up and running. And that's everything from setting up coupons to doing internal PPC, helping getting reviews. I even have a section on there that talks about how to use Facebook ads to drive promotional purchases to your item. So I think this is something that you must be prepared to do a little bit of marketing within any product, because the reality of it is setting it there and just waiting for it to work. Well, you know, that may, but you know, you're going to have to push it along a little bit. And we show you every step that you need right here. The fourth module is basically it's about how to do some management things. And this is something I think a lot of people don't want to necessarily spend the time and do, but part of being effective as a manager and an owner of a business is you're constantly tweaking. You're constantly out there doing things that make things work. So in this, I show you how to get more sales out of your business and how to leverage your business. And again, as we said earlier, this is a tangible, viable asset that you can one day sell if you want. So I even have a little section in there that talks about how to sell your business as you go forward. In this, there's some bonuses as well. I put everything in there from my resources guide, all the software, all the tools, anything that you would need to use to do this or might use. I actually use one tool that helps me automate my requests for reviews. Other than that, I don't do anything, but for those of you who really, really like using software, I've got a great list for you to be able to find things. Huge discounts on photography. Got a $100 discount with my own personal photographer. I don't get anything out of that, but I think it's something he's willing to do, and we'll help you do that if you want to go that route. The Facebook group, and this is something that we have started recently, and all of our members are doing this, and they're very active. It's kind of nice. Up until a while back, you do a course, you learn it, you have questions, you're kind of out on your own. This is a community of people we have developed that are willing to help each other, will answer your questions. I expect everybody in there to contribute back as well. It's a really, really good group of people to help you get going off of this. Now, the other side of this is really kind of nice that we have started recently. I think it's very, very unique to us, is we have started a review group. So one of the things when I talked about marketing being so important from a moment ago is that you can come into this, and this is something we don't charge for. This is something that, you know, we're still working out some of the kinks, but it's going to get there. What if you could come out and get 10, 15, 20, you know, pick a number, reviews to get your product up and running and launched? To have that would be invaluable. Basically, the way that works is you get reviews and give reviews to get reviews. So it's a nice little setup and something that until you really go and get reviews and see that it can be tough, that is very doable, by the way, especially if you follow what we're talking about. But a lot of people, it's tough. This is a way to make that much easier. We do have group coaching calls. We had our last Q&A webinar last week, I think it was, where basically we get on there and have everybody who's a member have a chance to talk about what they're doing or by asking questions and see if we can get everything going there. So a nice way to stay engaged going forward. You'll have free lifetime updates off of that. So it's something that is ongoing. If Amazon changes, we'll see if we can come in and do this. So it's not like you have a limited access to it. Amazon is much better than some of the other people at being stable, but if something does change, we'll come into it. All right. Well, in this, in this course too, I feel so good and so comfortable about it that I'm willing to put a 30-day no risk guarantee on it. You can read this and see it's nothing if you don't want it, you can back out. Sometimes it's not for you, and that's okay. I'm assuming all the risk by showing you everything, letting you read the proverbial book, and you can read the book and return it if you want. But people who have come in and really like the program, and they're staying, and they're getting their products done, and they're engaging, so they're making progress. Now, in this, I don't know why you necessarily came here tonight. It could have been for a lot of reasons. Maybe you're bored. Maybe it's the holiday weekend here in the United States anyway. And you had some time on your hands, or maybe you're tired of that commute you just came off of, and you want to spend some more time with your family. Maybe you just want to make a little bit extra money to give yourself a little bit of comfort, or maybe you just want to have a real product business that you can grow and do other things, and something you can scale into a big business, by the way. And something I didn't talk about a minute ago, if you build your own private label brand, you can turn around and sell it wholesale if you want, or those products wholesale to retailers. You could even develop an e-commerce business as you want. You can go as many directions as you want to go when you're doing this. But anyway, you can scale up to a six-figure business if you want. But for whatever reason, you have some options. You can do nothing, and obviously whatever situation you're in will stay the same now. But I do want you to stop fooling yourself. I mean, knowledge is not power. You do have enough to know this evening to get started on your own. This course will just make it easier and faster and give you a community of people to call on and participate in for when you need that help. But knowledge, don't fool yourself. Knowledge is not power. If that were the case, librarians would have all the power. They don't. Application and execution of knowledge is what's power. So no matter how well you have something, you have to go out and take action. So in this, you can decide to do nothing, or you can decide to join all the other Amazon successful sellers who you have met, who are out there making money. The main course that's out there that started all this was from a company called Amazing Selling Machine. Well, okay, they sell their course for $3,500. And I saw another one that seemed like a bargain at $2,000. Well, the thing about the Amazing Selling Machine, I don't know those people personally, but they seem to be good guys, and everything I've heard suggests that they're good and they have a good course. But let's just be realistic here. The course is $3,500. You spend $3,500 on a course, well, okay, that's inventory you could buy for a few products, that's promotion, that's marketing, that's all kinds of different things. So, I don't know, if that's the direction you want to go, then go spend all the money on the course instead on yourself and your products. So I will say this about the other guys. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. The one guy, there's a young guy in there, and I don't know how old he is, looks to be in his mid-20s. I was doing this before he was born. So, we're putting a lot of time and effort in to try and give you some of the personal attention that you're not going to get as you get lost in a community of thousands of people. But anyway, the question that's on most of your mind is, why is this course significantly less than the $3,500 when it covers the same type of content, and in many cases even more? Well, the reality of it is I'm not a full-time internet marketer. I'm a full-time Amazon seller, and that's where my income comes from. As you heard earlier, I've sold several businesses. This is something that I do for, I don't want to say just for fun, because obviously I'm doing it for more than that. But the reality of it is I don't have to charge $3,500. I do appreciate their gall in doing that, but I just think that's way too much. So I price a course that it makes it affordable so you can take it and profit from it, and obviously still have some money after the fact. And ultimately, I'd like to build a community of like-minded sellers, and I want to be able to build our review group, and I want to be able to have a community of people who we all are our online friends. And that's kind of that's the real reason. The course itself, you got two options. It's either $297 or $397. And I think next to $3,500, that's quite a bit less. Now let's take a look at what you get. Let's review. You got two options. The $297 is the VIP member. The Prime member is the $397. And in both the VIP and the Prime member, you get the complete training modules. You get the outsourcing guide we looked at. We get the admission to the Facebook group and free access to the review group. You get the discounts on the photography, the live coaching calls, and the lifetime course updates. What the difference is when you're a Prime member, you get a 30-minute consultation where what we can do is go in and I can help you verify your market is good. I can talk to you about your product. I can answer any questions that you may have along the way. I can help you with a marketing plan, any questions that you have. I do some Amazon consulting for people, and that $100 difference is a small fraction less of what I usually charge for that amount of time. But again, I'm ultimately wanting people to be successful here, so I'm doing this just to try and help you as much as I can. So that's what you get when you join as a Prime member. So, folks, that's pretty much it. I want to thank everybody for being here. If you want to go to the FBA Head Start, that's where everything is listed, and that's where you'll see. So, in this case, let's do, let's now go to our Q&A session. And I think I look at that, and I can't help but like and appreciate Frank Gorshin. I think it depends on your age of who your favorite Batman is, and your favorite Riddler is, and so forth and so on. I don't even think it was a Riddler in the last Batman series, the one with, gosh, I can't remember the actor's name who played Batman now. But maybe there'll be one in the new Justice League kind of things. But anyway, let's do, if you've got some questions now, go ahead and see if you can type them into the question bar, and I'll see if I can and just try and answer some questions for you. Okay, now let me just say this. If I miss your question, I have not missed it on purpose. The way this is in GoToWebinar, it's very hard to see questions from this side. So please bear with me, and I'll ask you again. So if I miss a question, I'll just ask you to retype it so I'll get it. And I see one here from Matthew. It says, but how do you determine products and markets? Just by burning your you stumbled upon the gloves. Is it really all about experiences? It can be, Matthew. Part of it is you got to go through and you just sit and you type in Amazon, you look at things, you stare at the wall, you walk through retail stores and you look at items, you walk through your kitchen, you look at items. There is no 1, 2, 3 step process that says get this product. That's the art to it. And the reality of it is once you sit down and you start typing products. Actually, I had a consultation call with somebody the other day, and he was telling me how he was going through his process, and he started out with 4 different products. He said by the time he got to the 3rd or 4th different item, he really started feeling good at what he was looking at, and by the time he was finished an hour later, he said he had 10 products. So, Matthew, all I can tell you in that is that you've got to put some effort into doing it. You can ask people and observe things. I was watching a cooking show the other day. And this is a product that I don't plan on doing, I don't think. But if anybody watches a cooking shows, and I think it's called a mandolin, which is like a 45-degree slicer that sits there and you slice thin tomato slices or onions. It's got like a blade. It's kind of like a guillotine. And instead of using the little block that keeps your finger from getting chopped off, he had a Kevlar glove. And I thought, man, that's kind of neat. So there was something I went and looked, and the price of the item wasn't expensive enough for me to do, so I kind of passed on it. But that's how I got an idea for that. So little things like that, Matthew. I hope that answers your question off of that. So let's see. Let me check some more here. Brandon says he can't wait to get the business working on the business. Okay. Byron says, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Okay. Please, and I'm sorry, I know I'm going to mangle this, but it's like, is G-E-R-O? I guess it's Gero. Please, Arrow. I'm sorry. I hate to do that to people's names. You got with reviews and everything, so it looked like whatever you typed didn't completely come in there. So if you retype your question, I'll try and answer that. Okay. Okay, how do you ensure product safety and compliance according to the U.S.? Let's see, Andrew. Let me see if I can try and answer that question for you. There really is not a governing body that you have to have your products approved by. I don't know if you live outside of the U.S. or not, but in this, one of the things you will see, I guess, when you're looking at some of the products that come from China, they will tell you there is something called the FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration here, that's FDA approved. If you're looking at supplements and creams and things like that, you can go and have those products verified by private labs, and I think that's really all that you need to do. I think, too, one of the things that in this, I didn't talk about this at all, is that it is, I think a lot of times people overcomplicate things. This is not that hard. They look for the one thing, and I'm not talking about you, Andrew, I'm just talking in general. They look for some things sometimes that keep them from doing it. Go up and just get it started. And I think that's the biggest thing. Now, maybe you're talking about some legal liability issues in that. I don't know. I can't tell by your question. But one thing I do want to say while you're talking about this, and I'm presuming you're from out of the U.S. by the way the question is phrased. Several months ago, a year even, whatever it might be, you had to have all kinds of things to sell in the U.S. market. You had to have a telephone number here. You had to rent like a post office box to have a physical address. You had to have a U.S. bank account. You had to have, and I'm leaving something else out here, but if you're in an English-speaking country, whether it be Canada, Australia, that type of thing, and you still want to sell in the U.S. market, you don't have to have all those things now. All you do is have to have a credit card is the other thing. You have to have an internationally charged credit card. You have to have a bank account that accepts wire transfers. You can still do all of this now from outside the United States. So with that said, there's actually a blog post for those of you who are from outside the United States. If you want to go to my website, which is markscottadams.com, it talks about selling outside the United States, or if you live outside the United States, in the United States market. So that's what we have there. All right, see a question here from Sandra. Does it matter that there were a lot of sellers already in the silicone barbecue gloves? Would you still sell the barbecue gloves? One of the things that you have to evaluate is as a seller. And I think the reality of it is there's always going to be competition. Like all things. I think in Amazon right now, Sandra, I think there are literally thousands of markets that are not maxed out. If we went back and looked at that market, there were some other items in that market. Let me see if I can go back and actually even find it. All right, if you go back and look in here, let's see. They've got, I don't know what you call these things, meat handles. I think this is like to shred pork and stuff like that. They've got flavor, I don't know what you call this, but this is like a marinade injector. There are still spaces on this page. And the reality of it is there's some people here doing this pretty well. But again, there's some people who are not doing it well. And if you think you can go in and come up with better pictures, better descriptions, better titles, and maybe bundling something, and you see an opportunity in the market, you can still go in. This is, I would say this is a market that a lot of people have found, but it's not completely tapped out by any means, because I still think there's some room here. But at the same time, there are a tremendous amount of markets where, you know, we said all these things here were making whatever they were down here, whatever they were, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month, I think. So if you can get into something like that, you know, I'm not sure I would do that on my first product, because this is a little bit bigger market, and obviously the bigger the market, the more the experienced people are coming into it. But there are a lot of markets to go into. Long-winded way to answer your question. I think if you got some skill, I think you can make some money in this market. I'm not sure it'd be the first one I would go into. So I hope that answers your question there, Sandra. Okay. Just hold on here. All right. Philip says, as a retailer for many years, the idea of doing this with the potential margins is almost hard to believe. I have worked with distributors that are, I guess that's convinced, but who are convenient but don't offer enough margin. This offers most everyday people a great opportunity. And Philip, you're right. You're absolutely right. And, you know, I was a merchant. I've been a merchant for 25 years. I mean, multiple stores. I actually had my clothing business in malls when people used to actually go to malls before they bought online. So I understand. Now, the reality of this is if you're buying American items or you're buying from an American distributor, you probably don't have the margins. And I agree with you 100% there. But as a merchant, you have the experience to go in. You don't need a ton of experience here, by the way, because I'll show you how to do it. But you're basically renting my experience as a merchant. But for people who are doing this, who have some experience coming in, you go to China, you know what you're getting, you pay for it, and you move on. I mean, it's not, you know, you have to be more motivated by success than fear of failure. So, Philip, I agree with you. This is something, if you are a retailer now, you know about the long retail hours, even now retail stores, it seems, want to be open on Thanksgiving. So used to, you could always count on Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter being off, but it seems like no more. So I imagine it's only a matter of time before retail stores here start opening on Christmas. But anyway, long-winded way to say I agree with you, Philip. And, yeah, this is when people see this and they have a little bit of understanding to at least appreciate how easy it is, or at least a background to compare, they jump all on this. All right, let me make sure I'm not missing. So we're hoping I'm not missing anybody's questions here. All right, Michael has a question here. It says, how do you know a PPC is being used? All right, let me scroll down here. All right, you see where it says sponsored right here? Sponsored, sponsored. These are ads. These are internal Amazon PPC ads. And you can set this up inside your Amazon dashboard. And just to give you a point of reference, it's the same type of thing as Google ads or Facebook ads maybe. You don't get as much information. It keeps it very, very simplistic. But when I started on my first item, I was getting over a 200% return, meaning every dollar that I put into the ad spend, I was getting a $2 profit back off of that, which is unheard of. So, I even have a section where I show you how to do that, and you obviously may not get that amount. You may get more, but it's something that this is something that you need to watch this, and it's by bid type of thing. But the thing about Amazon internal PPC versus, say, Google, that's so established as Google AdWords, that's just $3, $4, $5 a click. These barbecue gloves, maybe they're 30 cents a click. I don't have any idea. And since these are people here who are ready to buy, credit card in hand, or at least stored on file on Amazon, you got a really good chance of getting people to buy right off the bat. So, I mean, that's why your conversion rates are so high. And, if I gave you $1 and you gave me $2 or vice versa, man, you make that deal all day long. So that's how you know if you see something with PPC. And I hope that answers your question there and gives you a little bit of info off of that. Okay. Michael's got another question here. It says, how do you know if the product is licensed or patented and you can't sell it, like the Kevlar glove? Kevlar is a brand name, off of that. There are variations, and it's like saying a Armor All for like a tire protectant type of thing. It's just a euphemism for that expression. You obviously have to go in and make sure that you're not knocking off somebody's exact thing. But I think the key in this is you're not trying to reproduce an exact replica. You're trying to be slightly different. You're taking a good selling item and you're adding your personality to it. Maybe you change the color, maybe you change the length, maybe you change something and make it very similar to the consumer still, but yet slightly enough to where it's unique and you're not violating any patented item. And quite frankly, Michael, most of these items are not going to be patented. So the only thing I would say is if you're I don't know if you know anything about SEO, but there's 3 terms there, which are white hat, gray hat, and black hat. White hat is you never push the envelope when you're trying to do something. Gray is gray area in the middle, and black is when you're doing things that are sneaky and crooked. I'm never a black hat guy, but I'm okay being a light gray guy off of that. So it depends on where you're comfortable in doing that, but you just want to make sure if long-winded way to say, I guess, if you really are unsure, go pay a patent attorney to find out. Off of that. But I haven't run into that issue, and I know literally hundreds of Amazon sellers who have not had that issue, but it's still a good question. All right, let me go here and see here. Okay, Michael, thanks for typing that a couple times, that question. I just didn't get to it. My apologies for that. Like I said, I'm a better talker than reader, I guess. Okay, got a question here from Brandon. It says, how long does it take to get a product up and live on Amazon from research time to actual sales? Well, Brandon, that's going to vary based on the person and the supplier. I can just tell you, for me, it was less than a month. In that, by the time I found the product, found a supplier, and what I did is I had them. A lot of people will order samples, and that's going to take some time and money. And I'm thinking, in my case, it's $400. If the worst happens and it's horrible, then geez, I think the sun will still come up tomorrow. So if you want to order samples and that makes you comfortable, by all means do that. It will just take longer, of course. I saw pictures that they took because my supplier had a really good camera and everything was clear. It was a simple item. I'm thinking, not a whole lot can go wrong with it. But I had everything in, and I'd say less than a month, and I really think it was closer to 20 days by the time I found the supplier, went through the item, said, here's what I wanted, here's here's the artwork for the logo, all that kind of stuff. And then they produced it in 3 or 4 days, shipped it to me in 7 days, 8 days, whatever it was. and then I had it in another 3 or 4 days in Amazon and listed. So roughly 20 days. So, again, probably that's faster than a lot of people will do it because I put full-time effort into doing it. But still, I didn't spend more than 20 hours in that process. So regardless, it's not a long time. And it may take you longer, though, but just realize that. Question here from, again, please, I'm going to say Jero, and please forgive me if I'm not saying that right. It says, how doable is it to get 5 sales a day within 3 months? Well, off of my product, I had that within a little less than 3 months. My item was selling for $12.99, and I sell anywhere, varies somewhere around between 150 and 180 of that a month. So, that's roughly 5 a month right there off of that item. So yeah, it's possible. Again, the answer to that is it depends on you, it depends on the market, and it depends on the product. I think what I'm going to start doing one day is I'm going to get a sign that says it depends, because so many things that is the answer to. But to me, if you, with these gloves we're looking at, I show these gloves because I do want to show people the potential that's out there. But if you had a product that's 6,000, 8,000 in the product sales, that's somewhere around five sales a day, off of that. Inside the course, we've got several little tricks to show you how you can pinpoint exactly what an item is selling, so you can mimic that product exactly, and there are no surprises. So there are ways to do that, but just if you want to have 5 sales a day, look for somewhere in that, I don't know. And again, obviously with Christmas now, you're getting skewed sales, but et cetera, through most of the year, that's somewhere in the, I don't know, 5, 6, 7,000 sales rank number off of that. Okay, here's a question from Brandon. It says, how long does it take to get a product up and live on Amazon from research time to sales? I can't remember. I'm going to read anything. We covered that. Getting it to Amazon is whatever time you're shipping, 3 or 4 days, 2 days, whatever it is. And then you're going to have everything set up before you're shipping. So you set everything up while your item is coming from China. And then once you get it, then you send it straight in, and then it gets it, a day or two on your first thing, you've got it listed. So, very, very short time off of that. It says, how much does marketing cost on average per month for a private label product? The biggest amount, I think, at the beginning, Brandon, and let's look at this at 2 levels. Let's say, just for conversation's sake, you want to do 50 grand a month. If somebody wants to do that, you better be prepared to spend a ton on inventory and maybe $10,000, $15,000 to give product away, to run Facebook ads, to do all those types of things. If you wanted to beat the orange glove people up here, that's probably what it would take. If you want to make $1,000 a month, and we'll use that just as a general number, when I started, I think I gave away 25 of my items, and the cost of those were like $160, and then some of the Amazon fees. So 25 of that at roughly $5 a piece. What is that, $125? And I still made enough to cover that expense and the cost of the $400 in inventory. So, not tons, but again, it depends on, you can be as aggressive as you want to be or not. So let's see. There's a question here from Debbie. How will this benefit me if I am a branded seller already and making my own items, trying to see what additional info there may be? Debbie, what I think you mean there, I'm guessing here, is that you're already a private label seller, and I presume you're asking about the course. Debbie, that's for you to decide. Off of that, what our course does, it takes you how to get your product up and running. That's a big part of it. But to answer your question, what maybe the biggest help to you is the review group that we have and the community that we have, because even as a call it a basic Amazon seller or an experienced Amazon seller, you have questions, things happen. And sometimes you scratch your head and you don't know how to do them. I guarantee you, with the experience that we have in our group, if you have a question, there's somebody in there, whether it's me or some of the other very experienced members I have, they can probably help do that. I actually had somebody the other day tell me that the community we have, the Facebook group, it was well worth the cost of the course. And that was, they were extremely happy and would have paid that just to be in the group. So, Debbie, I hope that answers your question. I hope I understood that right. So, Gosh, Andrew says he lives in Uganda, so I think he might win the prize for farthest away. So, Andrew, what time is it there? It's like 9:11 here my time on the East Coast in the U.S. I'm guessing that's, what, 7-8 hours difference maybe? So if you're up in the middle of the night listening to this, well, kudos to you for doing that. That's the first step in being successful. Michael says he loves the information. Well, I guess that's an older one, but thanks for that. All right, 5:11 a.m. Good for you, Andrew. Okay. Hi, Rob. How are you? Rob is one of our existing community members off of that, so he's just hanging around. So glad you're here. Matthew says makes sense. I am reading these out of order. Says merchant words is a good indicator of search volume. Do you have any tools or strategies to estimate sales volumes on Amazon? We have some tools inside in that, and merchant words is really more for the amount of views. I think if you get into sales rank, we talk a little bit in that about at what sales rank should you expect, but we also have some exact methods inside the course that show you over a course of several days to the exact item how much something's going. So I'm a big believer that if you can get a handle on sales rank, all the other things are just help you confirm. But Byron, on that, yeah, there's lots of stuff in the course that does that. Okay. All right, Debbie has a question here. It says, so you find your item, then another seller comes on your listing, changes all the pictures, descriptions, and zeros his inventory so he's not selling, but you're left with a listing another seller's changed that was not up to the original listing you put up. Debbie, I think some of that stuff goes on in some of the arbitrage metal or arbitrage part of it. So in this, you technically own the listing, and you go through something what's called brand registry, which means you tell Amazon that you are the owner of that product. And if anybody does try and go in and do anything, really they can't get into your dashboard. They can only get in and change and go to where it says, do you have another product to sell? And if somebody ends up selling a counterfeit or something like that, you just call Amazon and you very quickly have them removed. So all that infighting and things that you have in the arbitrage model, it doesn't go on here. Another reason this is a much more viable scenario. Okay. Couple more. Let's do a couple more, and then we'll close this down. When sourcing a China supplier, what must you do to ensure that they are legitimate? One of the things that you'll see here when you're looking at a supplier, it'll tell you they're a gold supplier over here, that they've been in business for a while, all these types of things. One of the things that you do, if you can put money into escrow here with Alibaba, and once it's delivered and the product's good, then they'll release it, so you have some recourse that way. When you're paying, you can pay by PayPal in many cases, so if something happens, you can have PayPal fight it out for you. So in this, I mean, the question I would say to you really is, and I'm just to be upfront, how do you know anybody is? But I'm a believer that 99% of people are honest. It's just the 1% of people who cloud the issue off of that. So you got to keep in mind these people have an incentive to treat you well just so they continue to have your business. And I think many times as whatever country we're in or whoever we are, we think we're the only honest person and everybody else is dishonest. And I don't know. I guess I'm too optimistic of a person to believe otherwise, that I think most people are honest. So a long-winded way to answer your question off of that, Brandon, is that, how you know any supplier is. But I've never had any issues. The vast majority of people I know have never had any issues. So, I personally think it's an issue. Let's see, a question here from Philip says, what will vendor put logo on items if orders are small? Again, it depends on the supplier. Some suppliers want to deal with 10,000 piece orders. Some are okay dealing with 100 piece, and they'll tell you in doing that. And if you scroll down, when you find a supplier, it will tell you in there if they're willing to private label on there. And then when you communicate with them, you say, here's the specs of what I want. Can you just give me a price? And they'll give you a price for doing that. And they typically will do everything from the printing to, you'll have to supply them the logo of what you want on there. But other than that, they'll do that. They'll even put the UPC code on there for you. So there's all kinds of things you can get them to do. I mean, I personally don't do anything. I have my supplier do everything. All right, lots of positive things here. Mark, this was great. Mark, this was very helpful. Thank you for putting this on. Yes, this has been helpful. Thanks for the time. I'm going to get the course. Well, that's great. Thank you. Debbie says, yes, I am branded for 3 years. This is why I'm looking into your program, as this is still happening to me, hoping you had something in your program that dealt with this. Well, Debbie, I'll just tell you, if you got to realize the Amazon is just trying to sell products, and quite frankly, they don't want to get into a battle of who owns what. If this is legitimately your product, and I have no doubt that it is, you have to have it brand registered. That's the only thing that Amazon will recognize as who legitimately owns the product, okay? All this arbitrage stuff that keeps going where people are reselling products, which is kind of like eBay, they don't really care. They just want to throw everybody into a market and let it work. So really the private label thing is what's been going and growing and so strong. And there are issues with people who sometimes will counterfeit. What happened to me, this happened to me, gosh, 2 months ago now, I guess, 6 weeks, I can't remember. But I woke up one morning and I saw somebody else selling my product in where it says other sellers area. And I'm thinking, well, okay, I only sell this product on Amazon. Nobody's doing this. And it was somebody who had gone in and counterfeited my product. Well, I had been brand registered, so I called customer service, and they said, yes, we see you're brand registered. It's your UPC code. You've done everything the right way. We're going to discontinue them in their account today. Boom, they were gone. So, and the fact that this is your product, and if you're not, I'm assuming by what you've written, you're not brand registered, that would be something to take a look at, because I think that ultimately will solve your problem. Okay. So, folks, that about does it. I hope I didn't miss anybody's questions. If I did, forgive me. It certainly was not on purpose. So, with that said, I hope that that you are interested in joining the course. I hope that you are interested in becoming an Amazon seller. And I hope that you would like to be part of our community, because we would love to have you. So, with that said, thanks, everybody, for coming in. I also encourage you from time to time to check my website. We introduce new blog posts. Everything's about being an Amazon seller as well. But again, time for me to move on. And again, thanks everybody for being here, and see you around. Thanks.